Mm-hmm.
Those straight back braids that I have, did you do them or mom?
Me. I do it all the time.
Okay. I was like, who gave me straight backs? I was like, that must have been mom because Reese used to give me.
She probably told me to do it
Okay.
though, because I used to. Yeah,
You
sorry.
gotta
I used to.
close to the heart.
Yeah.
You
I
can't.
did.
You can get. I'm
But
covering.
you want me to put a pillow?
This on the other side.
Okay, so hello, welcome to the Self Sweet Beauty. I'm joined here with these lovely ladies. This nice chocolate moreno, kind of feel, And what we're here today to discuss is we're gonna talk about being a black woman and the value of a black woman and the self-esteem of a black woman, because in February we're gonna be talking about self-esteem throughout the entire month, and since it is Black History Month, I want to start and highlight the black woman, because I feel like in society the black woman has been the most devalued traditionally, and I want to just dive into that topic and talk about that today. Cool. All right, so let's dive into it. How do we feel like society values us? Did anybody have an experience where they felt like triggered once in their life whenever a black man would say, hey, I'm with a white girl, or
I was triggered today.
Oh.
I mean, like, not that I'm like, because I am engaged, so it's not that type of situation, but I was at work and it was right before I got here, and one of my male coworkers, he's black, and he had a picture on his phone or something, and he was showing one of the guys like, oh yeah, man, I'm about to, go talk to her, and da-da-da. And I turn and look, and it's a white girl, and I immediately was like triggered.
Oh. So, okay. So when I moved down here, I felt like every time, clearly I live right across the street from the mall.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like every time I would go across the street and go to the mall, and I'll see an attractive young black man, I'm like, oh, okay, then a white girl be on the shoulder, or a Mexican girl,
right,
or even an Asian girl. And I'm like, well, dang, and to the point where I started like counting how many times I saw a black woman with an attractive black man versus another outside woman.
Yeah.
And I definitely said the ratio was almost like 8-2.
Wow.
I would see that, and I'm like, first of all, why is that? Second of all, why do I feel some type of way about that? Like, what is at the core of that? And third of all, am I wrong for feeling that way? Because I remember in college, specifically, they were a little less mature back in the days, but they were more open with speaking their thoughts. Mm-hmm. And they kept saying, I don't want no black girl. Y'all too much. Y'all got too much drama. Y'all don't appreciate no black man. Y'all don't this, y'all don't that, and this and the third. And then one of my friends, when I said I was going natural, on top of that, he was like, don't do that. You'll be ugly. And I'm just sitting here like, okay, I really want to know what is at the core of that, because it used to really grind my gears.
And I think, and when I was in college, we had the same reaction. Again, we have grown, but it was definitely when we would discuss young men who were dating white women, RG3 at the time, he was in college when I was in college, it was like, oh, he's got a snow bunny.
Yes.
That was the phrase. He's got a snow bunny.
Oh.
And the idea was that he had found someone who would not challenge him, right? So the idea of a snow bunny is like the bunny slope, right? It's the easy slope. It's not gonna be hard for you.
That's what used to make me so mad.
That's what that meant.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, for me, that was the idea. And I think part of our resistance to seeing them with white women is just an idea of scarcity. Like, a lot of women are in jail, and a lot of them are gay. Not that other races aren't gay, but we have this feeling of scarcity. So if you see a cute one / a good one,
right,
quote unquote, taken out of the pool by one that's not of ours, even though I feel like 90% of black men are married to black women, it's the ones that you see that aren't, that catch your eye.
Thing.
For me, I think
I think a good, like, okay, my personal thing is like, you can date who you want, I guess, but don't talk negatively about black women. Like, that's not your mom, your aunt, anything like that. And then the narrative of how the media portrays it, it's like, I think we see black women in struggle love with black men, and then when black men make it, they're white women, like, on a pedestal. That's what I don't like.
Because, so there's studies that have shown that black women are the most likely to never get married.
Yeah.
Or,
especially if they're educated.
Exactly. And then there's studies that show, like, you know, black women are like the least desirable. And so when you have that, and then you have, you know, the black men that you've given birth to into this world kind of push you to the side too, it's just like, well, dang, like, where is am I lacking value somewhere? And it's confusing though, right? Because all of our features, you see the rest of the world trying to mock. So it's just like, okay, well, the features that, you know, were glamorized about us, like our bigger butts or, you know, like our big lips or whatever, now everybody else is trying to, you know, embody that. And now it's like, now y'all really going to these women because it's like, oh, well, then I didn't get the butt and the lips, so what I need you for? I was younger, you know. I already had my own self-esteem issues that I was working through.
Sure.
Just, you know, on base level.
Right.
And so then you go into college and you hear people talking like, oh, I don't even want a black woman. So now you have this more of this scarcity mentality, you know, and then it's like, then to be a black woman that doesn't have like all the super voluptuous features and stuff like that, you know, it's just like, okay, well, where do I find my value as a woman? You know what I mean? Like, does that mean that, will I get married? You know, will that happen for me? Like, how do we redefine this narrative of like where our value comes from?
Another thing too about like a lot of black men I see now, that they're into, of course, all of our features, but they're into women who are not black women with our features. And now that like natural hair is a thing, a lot of them, now they really want to date these women because they look at it as, okay, well, if I date and marry this woman and have a baby with this woman, well, now she'll have the natural curly hair, but it'll be good hair because it's fine and it's silky and it's this and that. And that grinds my gears. Like, I can't stand that.
And that's another level, right? It's not only, you know, the fact that there's an intersectionality there between our race and our gender, but then there's like our hair. That's a whole our skin tone.
But I think there's like a lot more levels to it than that, because a lot of times when, you know, okay, walk to college, depending on, you know, your background and where you come from, when you're going to, I mean, like for myself, going to a PWI, a lot of the young black men that go there, this might be their first interaction with unlimited white women around them. So hey, I want to try this, right? So they try it, and then the other black women on campus are like, why would you do that? So now they're getting ridiculed for it. So it's almost to be like
it's a self-fulfilling
so it's just like, okay, well, you all are mad at me for doing it. I'm having fun, so I'm just gonna keep doing it just out of spite. I can literally see that thought process. But then you have like another layer of it too, because now we're in a generation where there are a lot of biracial children. And if, you know, that child sees the beauty that he sees is a lot of times what his mother looks like. So when you have a biracial child and their mother is white, 9 times out of 10, he's going to see beauty in white women. So how do you fault them for that?
I mean, I don't. And then so that comes to the question of like, are we making stuff up in our head, or are we like thinking too much into it? Is it always a situation where like if a black man is with a white woman, it's because they don't like black women, you know? Of course that's not the situation.
We just put that
But it's like, how much of it is a self-fulfilling prophecy?
That's what I think it's a mix of both. Now that you say that, because I know I dated a guy, he was Mexican and black. And his mom, even though she was Mexican, she looked more white Mexican than anything. And he told me that he had never dated a black girl before me. He dated all white girls. And he said, I don't like them, they're too passive, they're too this, they're too that. Well, he caught me at a time where I was finishing up grad school and I just wasn't slowing my education or my career down for anybody. It ended because apparently I don't know, he didn't like that I was going after my values and my goals and everything I had planned. And I guess I was too like, I don't know. I guess I was too independent for him and stuff like that, because he left me to go back to, you know, the white girls that he had been dating. But like you said, you know, he's looking at his mom. He's growing up with his mom. He had a black dad who abused his mom. I think his dad. The reason why his mom left his dad was because his dad was arguing with his mom, and he was so upset with his mom that he put a gun to his head, his son's head. And so they had to run from California to actually Corpus Christi. And so, you know, him seeing that.
Yeah.
And having to run with his mom. Right. So, yeah. I mean, I don't think that we're making up things in our heads, but I also do think that it does have a lot to do with kind of like what you grow up with, who you're around, who you see, who's taking care of you.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I think it's just an initial visceral reaction.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
like you have a snap. Your brain doesn't even, like you said, it was like immediate. You saw a picture and you went, right? It wasn't like, oh no, he's dating a white woman. Gasp. Right? You had to do all that.
I also think a big, huge part of it is because traditionally, I feel like generally, black women are pretty loyal to our black men. And it's like, we in general typically prefer to be with a black man. And so when that preference is not reciprocated to us, and it's like, well, dang, like, who do we have if not our own?
But I think it's also kind of, you gotta kind of look at it too in the perspective of, well, we're saying that, you know, there aren't any more options, and that's frustrating because they all want this and not us. Well, they could be in the same mindset of, well, you all think that we don't, but we do. So it's just like kind of like we're both looking at it from different lenses.
Yeah.
And it's like there are other black men out there that want to be with black women, but we keep seeing constantly over and over again a very different narrative. So it just it's almost like we're walking towards each other, but we're just missing each other.
Yeah. Do you feel like this has been an issue, like when you were growing up, or is this like a new thing?
You're calling me out.
Yeah. I want to know. I want to know.
When I was growing up, it was the same thing. It wasn't anything different, and it was irritating to watch, especially professional.
Yeah.
Whether they're professional business-wise, whether they're professional in the sports arena, but typically they have money, and it's like, why you couldn't pick black?
Yep.
That's just how I came up, and so I don't know that it's necessarily wrong or right or wrong, because we all have our own opinions and we all can make choices, but I teach my children to pick black. I know I'm serious.
No, that's fair.
You know, because my kid did date out of her race. I do remember that. Her freshman year. So, you know, when your children leave and go away, they don't have mom or dad constantly on them, you get to do whatever you want to do, right?
I think that's important. That's why I said, like, you know, just like black men are able to experience that when they go to college, black women can do the same thing too.
Yeah.
But it goes back to, like, you know, how you were raised and what, you know, sits inside of you. Like, yeah, you know, did date a white guy while my freshman year in college, which, you know, exemplifies that point I was making. But at the same time, I just knew that, one, I want to have kids that look like me. They're not going to look like me if I'm mixing, you know, if I'm having a child with a white man.
Right.
I just didn't see that in my future. So because of that, because I know I want kids to literally look like me, I want to be able to look at my daughter and say, she looks exactly like me. Right? I want dark skin, chocolate, ashy babies just like that. And I can't do that if I do something different. So it was just always like, that's just not an option. You know, be in a biracial, you know, relationship.
Yeah, I went to a very conservative school. I'm gonna leave the name out, but very conservative school, and so it never occurred to me to date any white guys, because while I was in college, Barack Obama was being elected, and so they were throwing eggs at his face. They were throwing toy monkeys into trees with nooses around their necks. They were doing stuff like that. So I got very entrenched in the blackness in college, even though I was also at a PWI. It was never an option. I I mean briefly, like 3 weeks dated a white guy as an adult, right before I met my husband again. We actually went to school together. But he mentioned something to me about his grandma being a little bit racist and occasionally dropping the N-word.
Oh, no.
And when he said that, he was like, she's really kind, but you know, that's just, right. She's really sweet. She's just an old lady, and she grew up in a time. And I was like, I can't do this. Like, the level of, what's the word? Anxiety I would have to deal with that, to know that I had a relative that thought it was okay to refer to me in that way.
And what happens when you bring your kids around?
Exactly.
Right. And like that, I just could not. I went back to my very beautiful dark-skinned husband.
Because it's interesting that you brought that up. I was literally at the point where I was like telling the kid, like, I think I'm gonna start dating some white guys. I don't know. Who knows?
But it's not to say you won't find a good one.
Exactly. But what made me feel like that is because I was watching The Real, and of course Lonnie Love.
This is just going downhill fast.
We're not bashing The Real, but I personally.
Personal opinions. That's all.
Yeah, so I don't always agree with their situations. Lonnie Love, she's currently dating a white man, right? And she had a real emotional, kind of like breakdown one day. Not even a breakdown, but mostly like, kind of just like an emotional session, if you will, where she was saying how she wishes that a lot more of her Black women would be open, because she just feels like a lot of them are like really, lonely, and they're sitting here waiting for a Black man to come around, and pick them up and sweep them off their feet, but they keep getting rejected. And I think that's the part of the pain that we feel, especially when we see somebody else with another race. These fears are real. Like that was a big part of why I didn't want to date outside my race, because I was afraid of what the experience would be like for mixing our families. Not even just what they would think of me. I don't care about what they think about me, but what you think of my children. What do you think about my parents? That's a whole nother, ball game. And so it was like, for me, it was like, I don't want to take that risk. But at the same time, I'm like, why limit myself in that capacity?
You could get a good one. So I don't think we should discount any other races just based on the fact that they're different. For all you know, you're looking at a white guy and you're like, oh, it's a white guy, and you found out he was adopted by a Black family and he's not going to be a problem, if you will. You don't know what you're going to get by just assuming the only option is people who look just like you.
So essentially, I feel like we just have to get out of this like scarcity mindset and adapt an abundance mindset.
Agreed.
And then abundance will come to you. I mean, whether white, Black, whatever. But I wanted to have this conversation because I feel like there are a lot of younger Black women, even older Black women, who don't see the value in themselves. And it's like, how do you start that journey? Like, how do you convince a Black girl, like, oh, you're beautiful, when they have so many outside voices, coming against them and telling them different?